right, let me introduce you to these two. We have Ken Stoker and Kate Moran here. So once again, we will have their opening statements in the order in which they filed. So Mr. Stoker, your 2-minute opening statement, please.
Well, thank you. This mic seems to be a problem, doesn't it? So, yes, my wife and I moved here after we graduated from Washington State University in 1998, and we've lived in West Richland our whole time here. We came here, we had 2 children, 1.5 years and 6 months old, and we've had our remaining 3 here while we have been here. So, first off, I started out working in Boy Scouts. I'm an Eagle Scout myself, and so I've always enjoyed that. I was a Scoutmaster for 4 years and then a Varsity Scout leader for 2 years, and have been a merit badge counselor pretty much the whole time I've been here. After that, I've also enjoyed participating in as coaching in youth sports. I've coached over 20 teams in Little League, Grid Kids football, youth girls basketball with the Richland Parks and Rec, and most of the time though has been with Tri-City Girls Fast Pitch Softball Association. I also spent 11 years on the American Cancer Society's Relay for Life Planning Committee. 5 of those years were when it was combined as a Benton Franklin County event, and then when they split, I went to help get the Franklin County event up and running since they didn't have much in the way of experience. About 7 years ago, I started attending the school board meetings, trying to be an interested and involved citizen. And shortly thereafter, I realized that city council meetings and the school board meetings are on different Tuesday nights, and so I started attending city council meetings as well. After about a year of city council meetings, I decided it was prudent to run for the city council 4 years ago. So I am now completing my first term as a councilman and have striven very diligently to bring a change and fresh insights to that council. So I appreciate your support before, and I appreciate your continuing support as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stoker. Ms. Moran, your opening statement, please.
Thank you. Oh, here we go. Thank you. First, I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for having this. I really appreciate you giving the voters the opportunity to see who the candidates are and have some questions answered by them. So I was in the Navy for about 9 years, and once I got out of the Navy, I moved up here. And when I got here, I wanted to learn more about the city that I was living in. I wanted to learn more about how things worked, when council met, just things in general like that. And I noticed that when I did arrive here, it was difficult to fully understand what was happening because it's kind of hard to navigate the way that the city works without actually attending some of these meetings. And if you don't know when the meetings or where the meetings are, that's a bit difficult too. So I started getting more involved. I actually applied to the Planning Commission a few times, and then I realized, you know what, I really want to be a part of the city, so I ran for office in 2017. Now, Mr. Brinks did in fact win that. However, after that election, I did get asked if I wanted to participate in the Planning Commission, and I jumped at the offer because it seemed like a really great way to understand how this city works and how planning works. And I feel that that is one of the necessary spots for a city to fill is good planning. So along with being in Planning Commission, I also attended the Citizens Academy, and I'm now a member of the Citizens Advisory Board, which works with the West Richland Police Department, and I'm also on the West Richland Community Care Foundation as the Vice President. And being on Planning Commission, earlier this year, I was voted to be the Chair of Planning Commission, so I've taken on a lot more responsibilities when it comes to that. But in general, I want to support my city, which has been voted Washington's best city to raise a family in as of late, and I hope that we can continue to do that in planning best for our city. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Moran. Now, Mr. Stoker, you will get to go first on the first question. There is talk about building a new police station in West Richland. Which location do you support, and how big do you think that building should be?
Well, that's a good question. First off, We thought we would go and try to petition the federal government to let us borrow or use some BLM land, which when you use it for public use, you can get it for pretty cheap. But we had a town hall, and a number of the citizens in the area of that BLM land came and voiced a great deal of concern. And so because of that, we have decided that that's not going to work. We certainly don't want to impose upon citizens who don't want it there. So at this time, the plan is that we are likely to put it in the southwest corner, I believe, and we have tonight voted to approve the purchase of the Tri-City Raceway track and the 92 acres that are there, and a portion of that will be set aside to use for the police station.
Thank you, Mr. Stoker. Ms. Moran.
I am definitely going to have to agree with Mr. Stoker here. In relation to buying that land, it was, I believe, incumbent on having the police station built there. And so I think that's a great reason to have that be on that land. And that's 92 acres that the city can now use to perhaps create a new city center or create a place where we can have more commercial development and possibly even some light industrial, because one of the things that we're missing right now is commercial development in West Richland. But I do think that the Tri-Cities racetrack, Port of Kennewick land is the best possible place for it at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Moran. And Ms. Moran, you have first go at this next question. It is from the audience. On the upcoming ballots, voters will decide Referendum 88 and Initiative 976. To give you a little background, Referendum 88 has to do with affirmative action. Initiative 976 has to do with car tabs in Washington. In the event that these pass in West Richland but fail statewide, will you respect the voice of your voters and move to implement them in West Richland?
To implement removing affirmative action? Because I believe that's what 88 is. It's removing the affirmative action requirements. Is that what the question is saying?
I think basically it's asking if West Richland voters decide against what the statewide does, would you go with what the voters in West Richland would want to do?
I'm not entirely sure there's a way for the city to do that because it is a statewide thing. It's not like legalizing marijuana. You can't just put a moratorium on affirmative action or on car tabs. So I think that there's not really a way for the city to do that. If there is, I suppose I would definitely be in support of keeping affirmative action because I think it's necessary to have a diverse community and have diversity in general. So yeah, thank you for the question.
Thank you, Ms. Moran. Mr. Stoker.
Well, I would have to concur. If the state rejects, I guess if they reject affirmative action, and are we supposed to implement it then if the city does? I'm more of a meritocracy-minded person, so if you deserve the position, I think by all means you should get it. I'm not in favor of necessarily quotas or making things or forcing things to happen. As far as the car tabs, I'm not sure what we would have use for, additional car tab fees in our community if the state approves the car tab legislation. I guess interesting situation.
We have a smart audience here. All right, Mr. Stoker, you get to go first on our next question. What is your stance on the distribution and sale of marijuana in West Richland?
I still believe, and until we have a vote that says otherwise, I still believe the community has been a 2-to-1 ratio basically against the sale and distribution of marijuana. I am not saying that, obviously it's state law that allows for recreational use as well as medical marijuana use, and so I don't wish to curtail individuals' ability to consume what they wish to intake into their body, but We have had a town hall on this issue. This was before I was on the council, and I remember sitting in the very back corner of the old council room in the library building, and it was packed. It was out into the foyer area, it was out on the sidewalk, on the parking lot, and it was a 2-to-1 ratio, those who wanted the ban versus those who didn't. And also there was those who were against the ban. There was a significant number of them who were from out of town. So I still believe that the voters are, until otherwise shown, the voters are against the sale and distribution or distilling of marijuana in in the city limits, and I will continue to support that.
Thank you, Mr. Stoker. Ms. Moran.
So right now, at this time, there are no properties within the city of West Richland, not including the donut, where you have the ability to have a license to have a dispensary. So it's almost a moot point. But I do agree that I feel like we should put it to the voters of West Richland. There's been a lot of change over the years since the initiative is passed, and I feel that people now have more information regarding what good and what bad things can happen if you have a dispensary within your city. So I do feel that we should put it again to the city of West Richland, to the voters, to decide whether or not they want to overturn the moratorium at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Moran. And for our final question, once again, you will get to go first. Some people claim they leave town over the 4th of July because fireworks are still legal, which may also encourage the use of illegal ones. Do you approve of keeping fireworks legal in West Richland?
I approve of people using legal fireworks and not using illegal fireworks, and more importantly, not shooting them off in locations where it's not allowed to be shot off. Now, I personally have 2 dogs, one of them that's absolutely terrified of fireworks. I don't want to limit others in their use, but I don't want to have illegal fireworks that are extremely loud and can cause fire damage within our neighborhoods to be shot off right by my house. My particular house, the lot that it is on, burnt down partially because of fireworks several years prior, and while my house was being built, an entire acre was burnt right across the street from it. Now, I don't want to take away the rights of others to shoot off fireworks. I just want to make sure that there are safe, legal fireworks being used. Unfortunately, one of the problems that we have is that our police force is unable to keep up with any calls of use of illegal fireworks or fireworks being used in illegal ways. So I think that we need to look further at how we can better police to make certain that it's only legal fireworks that are being used and in appropriate ways in appropriate places.
Thank you, Ms. Moran. Mr. Stoker.
Well, I will have to say, I have several biases here. I remember growing up and having fireworks, and so I enjoyed them then. I enjoy them now. I also have to say that my wife has run a fireworks stand in West Richland, so I'm quite intimate with what is legal and what is not. I agree. I find it ridiculous with the amount of freedom that West Richland has that people still feel they need to go somewhere else to get something more. I mean, honestly, these are some pretty amazing pieces of artillery, as it were. And I've shot them off myself, but people do stupid things. When I do it, I screw my tubes down to a platform that's 4 by 8 feet, and it's all well anchored because I don't want any accidents. Unfortunately, people who make big mistakes, who don't think things through, don't think through the process, oftentimes that affects other people who are law-abiding, who make good use of their fireworks. And so I agree. I really don't want to make the law-abiding citizen be punished because of somebody else's idiotic tendencies. So personally, I am not in favor of banning them. The votes have come up for fireworks in the past, one in particular. I recused myself because of my current situation with my wife's fireworks stand, but I still had the opportunity to make my own case and help the decisions that were made. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you both so much for being here tonight. Once again, vying for West Richland City Council Position 7, Ken Stoker, Kate Moran.
job.